Good afternoon, Frisbee fans. Premier Ultimate League action and excitement coming at you this Saturday afternoon. I'm Charlie Lowe, and with me is Rochelle Frash. We'll be your happy commentators today, and want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. Rochelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you, Charlie?
I could not ask for a better way to spend a Saturday. The sun is shining. It's a little cloudy. Nice throwers wind going on. Perfect ultimate conditions today.
Yeah, it was a little bit cloudy for the first game, but the sun's coming out, and I think it's going to be a perfect game of Ultimate.
Yeah. Going to take some time to shout out our sponsors this afternoon. The Parker Mortgage Team from Noblesville, Indiana. That rate you found on the internet is no better than a dead disc, and it's really only part of your mortgage equation. You need a go-to advisor for your mortgage to walk you through the process and paint the whole picture. Check out the Parker Mortgage Team in downtown Noblesville. We're basically your Vincent Van Gogh, too.
Our next sponsor is Zen Lab. Did you know that Indianapolis Red, alongside the Indianapolis community, has a personal yoga teacher? Kristen is the founder of Zen Lab. She is a Ultimate Frisbee player herself, and you can work with her, too. Zen Lab has a dynamic selection of yoga styles and classes, all available online. You can go to www.zenlabindy.com to learn more.
Taking a quick break here from our sponsors to talk about this. So we've seen the Pride play one game today. They started it off probably not favorable for them. They went down 2 pretty quickly to the Red, only to roar back, pun very intended, to not only tie the game up, but take a commanding 3-point lead. They'd hold out the rest of the way. What are you expecting to see from them in this second game, Rochelle?
So I'm expecting them, I think, to come out firing. They started a little bit slow in the first game against Red, but definitely coming out of the second half kind of lit their own fires and kind of just started playing like the team that they know that they are. A little bit of break, I think, was good for them, and I think they'll come out strong and be ready to play.
Could not agree more. And over on in our light jerseys on the other side, we've got the New York Gridlock. That's a team that we've not seen a lot of action from so far this season. They've got one loss, a 20-9 beatdown at the hands of the DC Shadow, though the Gridlock would let us know that that was their first outing as a team. They've had a lot of new additions to incorporate, but they believe pretty firmly in their squad. They've got a strong team there, a lot of very recognizable names, Jenny DeJesus, Abby Chang, Tulsa Douglas, Emily Barrett among them, players who are going to go out with full intent to have an impact today. I think that we're going to see some very, very dramatic person-on-person battles that I'm really looking forward to. I think, though, that knowing that we have some weather going on, the wind from earlier has moved to be less of a crosswind, more of a upwind, downwind, reminiscent of last week's game for the Red against the Strike. We were all there for that one.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see still, whoever's system can execute at the highest level probably still gets them the W today.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see a couple players on New York Gridlock that have previously played for Columbus Pride, so it'll be interesting to see how they match up on defense against some offense that they may potentially know about or have some insight into.
Yeah. Through interviews with both of these teams, the things that they're really leaning on are going to be personal identity. Neither of these teams really appears concerned with what they may or may not see from the other teams. Very, very focused on, hey, we know what we're here to do. We know how we're going to do it, and that's all that's important.
Exactly.
Going to take some time to highlight some other sponsors today. Somerset Paving in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Somerset Paving is Detroit's expert in asphalt and concrete paving. Somerset Paving, take the right way to quality.
Next, we have Materials Data Management. Thank you to one of our local sponsors, MDMI. Materials Data Management has the experience and drive necessary to help your organization deploy the best in engineering materials information management solutions. Check us out on LinkedIn for current job openings and our website, materialsdatamanagement.com, for a list of our services and software. Data importers, exporters, and consulting too. MDMI is here for you.
Going to take some time to highlight some Frisbee-focused sponsors. We have VC Ultimate, we have Discraft, and we have Layout. All three Ultimate apparel companies. Discraft produces the discs that we're going to play this game with, and VC Ultimate is the official partner of the Premier Ultimate League and has provided the lovely jerseys that we see both of our teams dressed in today. VC Ultimate from Montreal, Canada. And our last sponsor is Everyone's Joy Photography in Fort Wayne. Everyone's Joy, you Indy sports team photographer and Indy Red's official photographer. Doesn't matter if you need sports or fashion, we got you covered at any event. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at everyone'sjoyphotography.com. So as we see these two teams announced, again, we took some time to highlight some players from the Gridlock. Down on the Pride side of the field, there are some players that we'd really like to, focus as well. Some of them are popular on Twitter, some of them names that you may recognize. We've got number 3, Domenica Sutherland, a pretty powerful D-line shooter. You'll see her a lot in the handler space. We'd be remiss if we did not mention number 47, Penny Wu. You see her with the trans pride flag draped around her shoulders from the pride line earlier. Other strong names, though. Charlotte Corner from Pittsburgh Parcha, as well as number 6, Champ Pruitt. Champ, actually one of the founders of the Red. All players looking to have a big impact for Columbus Pride today.
Most definitely. We've had couple standouts from the last game, so it'll be exciting to see how they can kind of build their weekend stats here into this game.
Absolutely. These teams have not yet faced each other this season, so everything that they're basing this game off of is off of film that they have seen from earlier games, or even off the game that the Gridlock were fortunate enough to get to watch earlier as the Pride took the field against the Red. Remembering that the Pride took that game 11-8 on a 5-point swing to reclaim the lead from the Indianapolis Red. The Red are going to be looking to get that win back later tonight when they play the Gridlock again. Gridlock are going to look to right their ship, try to get to 1-1 the first game of the day. So, Rochelle, what are you looking forward to in this game?
So, something I kind of enjoyed about the first game today, coming off of last week's very, very windy, had a lot more deep looks, and I'm always a big fan of those big highlight reel plays, and so it's been cool to see different players see those looks open up on the field and take them. Penny Wu specifically had some pretty strong looks in the second half of the first game today, and so I'm looking forward to seeing them kind of maximize that deep space as the wind comes and goes in different periods of time.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see some very interesting defensive sets come from both of these teams. We saw a lot of zone in the first half, and even some kind of middle junk sets out of the Pride. I think we're going to see some similar things. The Gridlock are certainly looking forward to some junky sets to come out of the Pride. They think that they've got the thrower talent to safely navigate those choppy waters and have themselves a pretty controlled game, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's the thing about both of these teams is they're kind of used to kind of this all across the board weather, and so most of them have trained fairly classically in different weather elements and being able to play. So I think they can see that and adapt their game accordingly.
It's going to take the first team that can figures out this new wind that they're playing in and navigate through the waters of the defenses the other teams put against them is going to find some early success. Hopefully the success they need to take a W today. Both of these teams are looking for to add some in the win columns today. They're going to need it if they're going to get to championship weekend, June 18th to the 20th. The Pride need to win out today, and not only win out today, maybe win out the rest of the season if they want to make championship weekend. Gridlock, with only one loss on the year and only one game under their belt, certainly nowhere near out of playoff contention, but in a tough Eastern Conference, especially with the DC Shadow looming, they're going to need some W's if they want to see themselves play for the championship. All right, and we're starting to see our lines walking out. Again, we've got the New York Gridlock in light. They're going to be starting on the right side of our screen. We're going to have the Columbus Pride in orange. Down on the left side of the screen, Columbus Pride are going to be pulling from left to right to kick us off. New York Gridlock receiving. Looking down at the lines on the field so far, notably, do not see Domenica Sutherland on the D line for the Columbus Pride. She's a big handler and big pulling presence for them. I got to wonder what the decision there is from Ben Murphy, head coach. And then down on the New York Gridlock, we see Jenny DeJesus, number 00. You might have remember her name. I called it a whole lot at the Continent Tour, the Disc Diversity Stop in Washington, D.C. on March 26th. Most notably, she laid out for just about every throw that her team threw her. Very unafraid to throw her body around. That's an athlete that they're going to have to look to slow down if Columbus wants to have success today. Our first pull is up. Rolls over midfield. It's going. The Gridlock are going to need to stop it. Oh, takes a friendly turn. And here we go. 14 Douglas picks up the disc. Upfield immediately to a skying Barrett. Continuing to Kelly Highland. Beezus, as she's called. Back to the middle. Douglas going every other right now. Around. Barrett secures it. She's got that strong right hand. Nice, classy spike around the back. Flipped for a score. And that's a very quick Gridlock 1-0 lead.
Yeah, that's what we expect kind of this game to go. Some easy movements up the field for New York. We'll see Emily come down with the disc probably a fair amount today.
They call her JT. Emily Barrett played at The Ohio State University for Fever on a lot of those teams that went to championship weekend for college nationals. Very, very easy to trace the origin of that name there. Emily Barrett, JT Barrett, one of the famed quarterbacks to come out of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Gotta love those Buckeyes. Or not.
Or not. I can't say that I have any particular love for them.
Me either. As someone who grew up in Columbus, it has been a very interesting journey to live in that city and not be an Ohio State fan. But
went to Ohio University, right, Rochelle?
Correct, I did. So kind of the one down south, so there's that subtle rivalry in there. But, you know, got to move forward.
Pull goes up, a lot of sharp edge from the Gridlock, skids to a halt just over midfield, and we'll see the Pride offense for the first time in this game as Penelope Wu picks up the disc. Low throw to a bidding champ Pruitt, unable to secure that, and the Gridlock are going to take over a little inside half field. First look at the D-line offense, that's number 7, Luisa Neves picking up. Doesn't like what she sees, swings across the field. Stifling handler defense from the Pride. Gridlock receiver reads it out. That's number 11, Nola Kim Mayer. I was told that we're going to see Nola Kim Mayer on defense take that Penny Wu matchup a lot. Oh, not able to bring that disc in. It stays in the air, and the Pride are able to handle it and set their offense back up.
Bit of a collision.
Got to wonder if that's going to result in some conversation. It looks like it does. Players resolve it. No foul called. Gridlock are going to take over the disc about 20 yards outside of their own end zone. So already some contact. Players are going to want to avoid those kind of big contact plays. It's going to result in probably a couple foul calls. Penelope Wu misses the skying D attempt but gets it back on the backside. Takes over for the Pride. Looks off Larson. Shoots the upfield to number 4, Rachel Mast. Over to Tico Lim. There's a couple fake swings around to Wu. Finally gets a receiver, Corinne Pruitt, coming across on that undercut. And that is number 3, Abby Chang, a captain for the New York Gridlock, secures the D in the end zone. Gridlock are going to be taking back over on that front end zone cone. I think the wind is starting to have an effect on these players, Rochelle.
Yeah, I noticed some in the first game, especially in this one. It's pivoting and figuring out how to get the disc where you want it to go in the wind. Lots of low to the ground throws. You kind of have to be able to get under and get back up to you, or they kind of just bobble up in the air, and you got to be able to read them in order to come down with them.
And we're seeing it between the stifling person defense played by both of these teams and the wind taking its time and toying with some of these throws. We've got a pretty heavy turnover point. Penelope Wu picks up the disc. Upfield immediately inside to Corinne Pruitt. Doesn't have a receiver. And finally finds one for the Columbus Pride, and that's a goal. Ties us back up at 1. Yeah, so we see Corinne take her time, look for a player, finally gets a receiver in the end zone, beats Abby Chang to that left side, able to bring that goal in. Corinne Pruitt had a pretty big statistical day earlier. We were calling her name a lot. Harrison and I got to think that she's going to continue that level of production into this game.
Yeah, I think when you have kind of a hot start like that, it definitely momentum continues and you're kind of in a good headspace to kind of just keep up the energy and keep up the spirit for your team too. And I think that's always good to have on the sidelines and on the field.
Sideline presence is a tremendously important thing and ultimate, often underrated by teams. Teams that get big for each other, not only between the 7 on the field, but in the, anywhere from 10 to 14 to 17 on the sideline. Every single person getting big and staying big for their teammates often can be the difference maker in a closely contested matchup.
Yeah, one thing we did notice this game as opposed to some other games is that there is the presence of a split sideline where we have team members from each team on each side of the field. It definitely helps in communication as the disc moves and in play, and so it's good to see them splitting the sideline like that.
Tulsa Douglas on the low side, doesn't take the swing, looking that player off, brings a Pride defender into the area, makes that next throw hard. Jenny DeJesus, huge fake, moves Sutherland, and finds the receiver she's looking for. That's number 8, Kelly Highland, a.k.a. Beezus, with the easy goal from Jenny DeJesus. And that's a quick score from the Gridlock to go back up 1.
Definitely seen some solid holds from Gridlock here.
They're creating space so well for themselves, Rochelle. If they're able to maintain that kind of spacing all day, it's going to be a pretty easy day of holds for them.
Yes, most definitely. We'll see what Pride can kind of take a look at it as they see their offense and see where they can adapt and maybe get some blocks in there every once in a while.
What are some of the keys to taking away some of those big gainers that the Gridlock have enjoyed so far, Rochelle?
Yeah, so I think paying attention to the different throws that come out of each offensive thrower on the line. I think adjusting your mark and pivoting in space to figure out what you can cut off and what is consistent with their pattern of throwing, whether or not they look more to look deep or kind of get those in cuts, kind of pivoting your mark and changing, just adjusting your own individual and also paying attention to who's around you in the different space.
100%. As we see Larson take over for Pride, upfield, easy yards for Tico Lim. Advances the disc ahead to Rachel Mast. Goes inside to Mallory Griffith. Tico Lim back to Penny Wu. Doesn't like that first undercut. Takes a deep shot over to Rachel Mast. Not able to secure that, though. Sails just underneath her arms. Rolls to the back of the end zone.
Definitely some lesson win, as we don't see too many discs rolling out of bounds today as we did last week.
Oh, man. Blowing through the uprights just about every time there was a deep look. Now, these players are facing... as they move from left to right, they are into a little bit of a stiffer upwind rather than the cross they saw earlier. That's definitely going to affect the offense as we see as that sails out of bounds. Gridlock player not able to reel it in and maintain toes. Wu picks up the disc on that far sideline.
Yeah, it is a tough sideline to see a little bit as the PUL in the Frisbee field is a little bit more inwards from a standard-sized football field, so I believe it is that yellow dashed mark line over there.
Wu not getting a lot of the options that she was looking for that she might have gotten in the first game. Lim is stifled on the around mark. Larson able to secure that. There's a big fake to shift her mark. Tico Lim with a gorgeous upline cut continues all the way for the goal from Jessica Larson. That Pride ties it back up at 2.
Now, it was a bit more of a smooth offensive point there for Pride. They were patient and made sure that they were getting the looks that they wanted before they threw.
Patience was the key in the first half. Those teams that were stopping to figure out the other team's defense, taking that extra time to set up a 100% throw and a 100% catch rather than anything rushed. That's going to continue to be important here in this second game as the wind shifts. And as we prepare for potential conditions to roll in. Thunderstorms in the forecast, but maybe.
Yes, I believe we're looking to see some weather maybe come in here around 5 o'clock, but maybe with the sunshine right now, maybe we've got a bit of a pivot in the forecast. That would be ideal. Otherwise, that could make for a bit more of a messy game as we head into Game 3 here after this one.
Well, I'm knocking on wood, and I hope all of you watching at home are knocking on wood too. Again, this is some premier Ultimate League action this Saturday afternoon. New York Gridlock and the Columbus Pride tied up at 2 with about halfway through this first quarter. Pull comes from the Pride, easily going to make half field, and the Gridlock are going to set up. Oh, unfriendly roll, though, going the Gridlock way. They're going to set up on that far sideline. Tulsa Douglas picking up. Because the disc stopped in there off its roll, she has to handle the disc from where it landed, from where it finished. Number 2, Brittany Kaplan, evaluating her options. Swing over to Emily Barrett. Continues up to her longtime teammate, Kara Sieber. But that's going to go to the Pride defender, able to help off and stop Kara from pulling that disc in.
Yeah, it's fun seeing Kara and Emily continue to play together in all of their years. I think I might have been a little bit ahead of them in college, but played in the same state, same section. And so it's cool to see teammates that have such good chemistry just kind of move different teams and be impactful in where they're playing.
Foundational pieces of a very successful Fever team. It's great to see them find success out in New York. So we see number 4, Stasi Tongerlini pick up. Completes to, well, that looks like Beezus again. Called her name twice today now. Back-to-back goals. That puts the Gridlock up 3-2. So very easy there. She looks at the immediately for a potential swing down to Tulsa Douglas. Tulsa Douglas, a pretty big threat with the disc, draws not just her own defender but the other defender as well, and that frees up Kelly Highland Beezus to make that easy across cut for the goal there. Well, it's a Game of Thrones and a game of holds so far, Rochelle. When do you think we're going to see our first break?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen some pretty consistent offense from both sides of the teams. I think it's going to take a couple points in until we kind of start seeing them learn each other and learn the players and what they can do to kind of maybe capitalize on space and generate a block.
One of the things these teams are going to need to generate right now is pulls that don't roll back on them. And we see Pride take back over inside of the half-field mark. Swing over to Penny Wu. Does not continue to Tico Lim and set upfield to Mallory Griffith, who beats her defender under for several yards. Back to Wu. Upfield, high throw, and number 3, Abby Chang, able to get her hands on it past the defender and get a turnover for the Gridlock.
Yeah, we're seeing some different marking down there as we start a little bit farther away and kind of bring into them to kind of cut off some of the big throws that are open and could be there, but kind of cut those off.
Amy Jo too high and out of control for Abby Chang. We're going to see Pride take over just inside the half point. Penny Wu picking up the disc. Evaluates her options. Nice inside break, but Abby Chang gets her second D in a row, starts streaking downfield, but Wu drops back to cut that off. Chang is faked off over to Emma Frankel. Gets it back to Trisha Smith. And that's number 88, Nikki Hare, able to weather the Penelope Wu storm and secure that disc on the sideline. Oh, and Mallory Griffith watches that disc come straight into her own hands. Oh, there's going to be some conversation on the field, though.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of good defense on this point specifically. Lots of players reading the disc really, really well and kind of coming in and able to get that turn.
A lot of the turns and success defenses have enjoyed so far in this game has probably been due more to offenses not completing or executing at the level that they're used to. I think one of the teams, whichever team is able to first establish their defensive presence and really force those turnovers, is going to be the one that pulls this W out. Champ Pruitt dumps off to Wu. Nice and low, but with plenty of distance. And that is secured by the Pride. They're going to tie it back up at 3 off a gorgeous leading pass from Penny Wu.
Yeah, Penny is so good at seeing those openings and taking the opportunity.
Yeah, so we watch her evaluate, throw low and nice and easy. And that's number 22, Mary Turner, who reels that in to tie us back up at 3s. Something that the Gridlock told me is that they know that Penny is going to have an impact on this game. There's not really any two ways about it. She is a dominant thrower, and she is a dominant defender. A very imposing frame in the Premier Ultimate League. The Gridlock, though, not necessarily worried about her. They've got their own matchup plan for her, and that's going to be Nola Kim Mayer, a current college captain. They're looking to throw her on Penny as, I quote, their coach. She plays fearlessly, and I think that's kind of the attitude that you need when you get the best player matchup on the other team. Or maybe not best player, when you get a pretty highly regarded matchup on the other team.
Correct. Yeah, it's definitely definitely a bit of a pressure, but I think it's also kind of a boost in that regard that is the caliber of players you have to match up against, and it's good growing and playing and learning opportunity to just be able to have such good matchups in this league.
Seeing a junk look down here from the Columbus Pride, looking to stop some of that quick progress the Gridlock were enjoying earlier in the game. It's Tulsa Douglas and Nastasia Tangerlini looking to enjoy easy dumps, chewing up 2 or 3 yards at a time. That's up to Jenny DeJesus. Doesn't take the deep look, instead dumps back off to Tulsa Douglas, who does take the deep look over to number 18, Sumi Onoe. Gridlock, another quick score, back up 4-3.
Yeah, so we'll see how New York adapts to that kind of junk look zone that Pride was dropping just there.
Nice high release. Perfectly rides the wind out, straight into Sumi Onoe's hands. And that's another easy goal. Right now, I think the Pride, if anything, they need to continue making their holds, but they got to find a way to slow this Gridlock offense down. They maybe junked them up for 4 or 5 throws earlier, and then it was off to the races.
Yep, it's definitely had some quick points.
As we see our crowd fleshing back out, we want to take some time to shout out all of our Premier Ultimate League fans. We took a little lunch break earlier and enjoyed a girls' ultimate movement clinic. It was wonderful to see the young women and future Frisbee ballers and leaders take the field. Probably several Premier Ultimate League All-Stars in that clinic.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah, it's fun to see kids from such a young age kind of just start playing around with the disc and seeing what happens, and it's a great opportunity that some of our athletes were able to be down there coaching them and just teaching them the love of the game.
So we're seeing Gridlock come down in a little bit more of a junky set. Emily Barrett and Kara Sieber frustrating the offenders on the Pride, and they get the turnover that they're looking for. The junk set works. Sieber swings it around to number 12, Amy Jo. Able to find number 6, Renata Pepe. Renata Pepe, Worlds player and Worlds teammate of Kara Sieber. They're probably enjoying being back on the field together here. Up to Abby Chang, looking to attack into the end zone. Doesn't have the swing she's looking for. Gets it back off. Emily Barrett catches the swing, evaluates her options. Jenny DeJesus gets big, maybe takes down her own teammate in the process.
Yeah, it looks like there was a little bit of a miscommunication there who was going for that disc, but we'll see what happens.
Something I think Ultimate should adopt from volleyball is the ever-popular mine call.
Yes.
Not only is it a great way to say, hey, I've got the disc, it's a great way to warn your teammates, hey, let's not engage in some extracurricular contact, let's keep each other upright. But the goal is upheld. So you see the swing travels over Pepe's head, and she just collides with her own teammate. Probably just got the wind knocked out of her, but let's hope that she's okay and she gets evaluated by the PT.
So it looks like that has been the first break of the game that we have here, so starting to see a little bit of action on that end.
For those of you at home who may be new to Ultimate, a break is when the team that starts the point on offense turns the disc over or has a block forced against them, and the defense is able to capitalize on that possession and put a point in themselves. It means the offense is broken.
So this will be a good opportunity for the Pride to kind of a different look at the field as they're coming in on offense after that break conversion from Gridlock.
Yes, we've only seen teams. Actually, extra context, that is our first upwind break as well. For those of you who have turned into some of the windier games this season, the upwind break is extra important. Being able to go in that wind that's pushing your discs backwards and popping them up and complete a goal, that means that your next look immediately is at a defensive line going downwind. If you can, it's not very uncommon to see defenses put back-to-back breaks together in an upwind scenario. As we see the Pride set their offense up, moving upwind. Looks off Tico Lim, gives it to her in that tight upline space. Continues over to Champ Pruitt. Dumps back to Penny Wu, does not take the swing option. Has cutters coming in, chooses the break space around to Rachel Mast.
Yeah, Pride's doing really, really well at working the bit shorter of a game right now.
They're getting pestered on those marks and getting pestered by those downfield defenders as Gridlock comes away with the block. Looks like she may get called out of bounds, though. Timeout taken on the field for New York. They're going to get a chance at a downwind break when they come back out.
Yeah, I have heard some commentary recently about timing of timeouts and when is the best time to take them as opposed in consecutiveness of a block or turnover like that. What do you think? You think it's take it immediately, move it down the field a little bit, right on the end zone? What do you think?
I think that getting that time out, you're not directly up against your end zone line, and having some time to say, great, we know the significance of this point, let's stop and talk about it, maybe calm nerves for just a moment, get some water in, and then get attacking with our offense. That's extra important. Another important thing is that in the PUL, the teams can substitute up to a full line of players. So this is also an opportunity for New York to put out an offensive line and almost treat this like a routine hold.
Yep, and then potentially get an opportunity for that dangerous break that we were talking about just a moment ago.
3-point lead is difficult to overcome in any one score at a time sport, and a huge opportunity coming up for the New York Gridlock. Stoppages in the PUL occur between points and during timeouts. As the Gridlock take over, they'll have a hair under a minute to attack. Remember that in our first 3 quarters, as time expires, the team that actively maintains possession gets to play that possession out. In the 4th quarter, that changes. It is regular buzzer beater rules. Disc needs to be in the air by the time the clock hits 0 for any final scoring.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun game of trying to remember all these little differences and little rules across the different ways of playing Ultimate, I guess you could say.
Don't be surprised here if we see an immediate Kara Sieber under, and there she goes. The swing to Tulsa Douglas instead. Breaks around to Kelly Hyland, who's going to get the pick called on her, knows that she's guilty, and they're going to send the disc back.
I feel like we haven't seen too many picks in recent games that I can think of.
I think the teams have been employing some pretty good spacing so far, keeping their play relatively clean, but we were due for one at some point.
Yeah.
Big fake from Tulsa Douglas over to Brittany Kaplan. No downfield options she likes. Swings back to Tulsa Douglas. Looks off the swing. More difficult throw to Kara Sieber, who bids but not able to reel it in with that right hand. Pride are going to take over, attacking the end zone, and they'll get to play this possession out. So the Pride are going to be looking to play a pretty secure point here, hoping to right this ship at the end of the first quarter. Some great footwork from Penny Wu, despite a challenging hand from JT Barrett. Over to Risa Umeno. Back to Penny, continues to Risa, saves it with that left hand on that graceful bid. Continues upfield. Emmy Schroeder over to Penny Wu. Domenica Sutherland circling around but doesn't take that option. Continues around to Risa Umeno. Charlotte Corner snags it with one hand, perhaps from her own teammate. Corner's going to be evaluating her options. Dumps off to Umeno. And finds the goal. Toes that line just inside, and that is a goal for Pride to right the ship at the end of the first quarter. Charlotte Corner with some gorgeous footwork there in that in that ISO space.
That was some nice patience there from Pride to secure that last point coming into the end of the quarter. It was definitely needed as we head into the second.
And Charlotte Corner made her presence felt in the first game against the Indy Red. It would be a shock to me if we didn't call her name just as frequently in this one. She's playing with a lot of her Pittsburgh Parcha teammates, having that level of chemistry, playing club and professional with so many people, really means that she can rely on a high level of chemistry with those players, and we see it pay off as she reels in the goal there, puts Pride back at up to 4. Gridlock enjoying a 5-4 lead at the end of the first quarter. So we've seen some back and forth, Rochelle. One quarter. Let's not project full game right now. What do you think your keys are? One key for each team. If they want to win this next quarter and end the half on top.
So we definitely need to get kind of a break opportunity for Columbus Pride. I think they've been playing really, really smooth offense and are definitely capable of it, kind of reading Gridlock's offense to be able to convert that. But we're seeing pretty smooth from both teams. I think consistency here and not trying to do anything too crazy to mess up their game plan, to kind of keep the game close and keep it moving.
I could not agree more. For the Gridlock, I don't think they need to do anything except what they have been, creating huge spaces and throwing lanes for their throwers as they continue to march down the field, using the whole width of the field, and remembering that just because that deep shot is there doesn't mean it's the right one. Finding those big 20, 25-yard leaders has been successful for them so far. No need to change the formula when it's already working. And I would love to take some time right here to talk about a cause near and dear to my heart. This evening, Disc Diversity is putting on the next stop on their continent tour. Saturday, April 30th, that's today. It's going to be 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Rice University. You can catch the stream on the Disc Diversity website and YouTube page. Also search Disc_Diversity on Twitter. The continent tour is an all-black Frisbee tour, highlighting the best of the best and the best of those you just haven't heard of yet in Black Ultimate. Shanique Crawford's brainchild, Shanique Crawford's passion project. She is here showing that black joy, black excellence, black Frisbee is beautiful, it's intense, it's passionate, it's fiery. She hopes you turn in. Certainly, though, we'll be casting the Premier Ultimate League games here as well. Hope that you take the time to put up your second monitor and enjoy both games at the same time.
Yes, everyone's got 2 monitors in their life, 2 phones, 2 anything. You can watch both.
You got 2 phones. You got one for the PUL and one for the Continent Tour.
There it is.
Pretty sure that's that song lyric.
Yeah, that's the rationale. That's what you need. And you had the pleasure of commentating for that previously, correct?
That I did. Started my commentary journey off commentating the DC stop on March 26th. Got to make great friends like Jenny DeJesus as you see her challenging Penny Wu, taking that very, very difficult matchup. She's going to swing over. We're seeing more of a zone look now from the Gridlock. I think that was a good adjustment. They must have determined conditions are such that we're really going to punish them in this upwind approach. Penny doesn't like what she sees. Dumps straight back to Champ Pruitt. Over to Tico Lim, who pops one up in the air. Oh, and that is saved by the Columbus Pride. They move it up to Mary Turner. Over to Tico Lim, down to Champ Pruitt, back down to Jessica Larson. Long active arms of Jenny DeJesus on the mark. Little conversation.
Definitely seen some active marks here. It's making it a little bit tricky for Pride to move it where they want it to go.
A zone succeeds in a lot of ways, and one of those is just unforced errors by the offense. The Gridlock are able to find one of those, and are going to take over, attacking just inside of midfield. Number 3, Abby Cheng secures the difficult grab by her knees. Bumps it up to Luisa Neves. Big fake from number 5, Emma Frankel. Down to Amy Jo. Looks off Renata Pepe. Glad to see she's back on the field after that collision with Jenny DeJesus earlier. Gridlock very content right now to work through their handler. We even just wait for shots to open up. That's what they were looking for, but not the execution they needed. It's going to be a turnover, and Pride are going to take over at their own end zone, which means we're going to get another look at this Gridlock zone. And there they go, Champ Pruitt, challenged by Jenny DeJesus, up to Tico Lim. Tico Lim presents a difficult challenge as a mark, remembering that she is a strong lefty and is able to get very, very low on a lot of those swings. And an injury on the field, but perhaps the thrower just snapped it against her own hand. I couldn't really see any contact there.
What happened there?
Looks to be okay, though. Jessica Larson still with the disc. Doesn't take the dump off to Penny Wu until she gives her a little more space to complete that throw.
Yeah, Gridlock putting a little bit of a suffocating zone on them down right now.
Got to imagine we've seen a return to high side, low side wind as Wu shoots deep downfield, blades down into the ground, and recovered by Amy Jo on the Gridlock. That's up to Emma Frankel. Jenny DeJesus run through, blocked by Sammy Wong. Gridlock are right back in that zone, though. Players where they needed to be to set that back up. Up to Penny Wu. Tons of real estate ahead of her. Rips a huge backhand. And it's going to sail out the back, though. Columbus Pride receiver not able to make up the ground. She needs to pull that goal in.
Yeah, I'm curious there as to which direction that disc was going to go. It looked like it kind of bobbled back and forth a little bit. Could have ended up with easily one of those Pride, but the wind pushed it out of bounds, that's for sure.
Rachel Mass didn't like the way the back of the end zone looked, not able to secure that disc, but that one sails past Jenny DeJesus. You can see that she's a little bit frustrated on where that throw was placed as Penny Wu takes over on the low sideline. Amy Jo challenging the original upline cutter. Through the hands of number 24, Jessica Larson. That is a Pride turnover. Gridlock will take over at the front of their end zone again. This point is starting to go for a while,
yeah,
Rochelle.
I was like, might be the longest point we've had thus far.
We had a 5-minute point in the first quarter, and we're going to be pushing that record pretty soon here. Frankel evaluates her options. Big swing, but it pops up in the air. And Amy Jo saves the potential Callahan for the Gridlock, and then an immediate throwaway. Pride are going to be staring at yet another end zone opportunity.
Should have started counting how many turns we had in this point here.
We've just hit that 5-minute mark. Frisbee fans, we'll see if one of these teams can stop the clock from bleeding out any further. Wu challenged by DeJesus. Low swing over to Tico Lim. Back to Penelope Wu. Breaks that mark with no trouble. Wu gets it in the red zone. Completes the pass to Rachel Mast. They stop the point from becoming any more arduous. That is tied at 5s. As Pride punched the goal in.
Yeah, lots of perseverance on that point from both teams to bring this one down for a score. Seen lots of throws here through traffic, lots of opportunities for blocks as we saw a couple of them here on this point, but definitely getting a little bit riskier with our throws, and the opportunities are there. It's just whoever decides to capitalize on them.
Worth pointing out, that's another break, Rochelle. Tie us back up at 5s. Pride right the ship and right it firmly as we get back into our on-serve game. Pride pulling downwind to the Gridlock. Gridlock will be moving from left to right on offense in light. Pride on defense moving from right to left. This currently handled by Penny Wu. She has an absolute rip of a pull.
Yes, that is for sure. I've seen lots of our throws today, and it's interesting watching just the evolution of someone being able to pull, and it's yet to be a skill that I have fully mastered, but as we can see, we've had lots of pulls that haven't quite made it the whole field, but this looks like it's getting down there.
10 yards deep in the end zone, it lands inbounds. Gridlock scrambling. They're going to need to get that back in, and they're going to be looking at they're able to walk. Because the disc bounced out of bounds, they're able to bring it back to that front cone as Douglas kicks the pylon. Still, not ideal situations for the Gridlock. Trapped in your own end zone is not a place you want to be, especially not marching upwind.
Most definitely not. It's dangerous territory.
Kara Sieber comes in for that under, gets the Gridlock back into their handler set, but a turnover upfield. Emily Barrett sets up the mark against Penny Wu. Former Cocktails teammates, those two know each other well. A lot of matchups at practice. Throw from Penny sails just too far. Gridlock will get another look at the O point.
Yeah, Pride definitely get an opportunity for some more breaks here. I mean, that from what we started at to where we're going, it's definitely what we just talked about right at the end of the first.
Going to take a quick moment to shout out close personal friend Gabe Ray for keeping us hydrated up here in the booth.
Always. Always need those kind of friends.
Tulsa Douglas sets the Gridlock back up, starts the attack once again for New York. Doesn't like the dumb throw, gets an easy upfield swing though to number 13, Mo Doherty. Takes the shot, Wynn takes it immediately, it sails out the far sideline. Into the stands, the crowd cheers with glee, lands in front of a group of Columbus supporters. Something nice though, Rochelle, is the PUL makes new discs pretty accessible for us.
That's for sure. Got them placed out throughout the field. Always helpful when the unfortunate circumstance happens.
Risu Ameno generaling the offense, telling cutters where she needs them to go, takes the shot downfield, has the receiver with space, huge bid, not able to reel it in. I have a deep personal philosophy, Rochelle. Bids only hurt when you don't succeed in your goal.
That's very, very true. I've opted to try and actively avoid bidding a lot in my Ultimate career. People that know me very rarely will expect me to lay out for a disc. I usually rely on speed to get there before I throw my body onto the ground, but every once in a while it turns into a bit of a knee slide, but we get there.
Ultimate Twitter personality Alex Davis, one of his most famous quotes is, "If you're fast enough, you don't need to bid."
He's not wrong.
That one drops just underneath the hands of Brittany Kaplan. Pride will get a look at midfield, attacking that left end zone on your screen. Wu picks up the disc, marked by also former Cocktails teammate Kara Sieber. Emily Barrett downfield on Champ Pruitt, who moves up field. Wu gets free, 5 yards away from the end zone, looks to start marshaling the offense for an easy end zone set. Sutherland challenged by two players, not able to get the space she needs for a goal. But Wu finds the gorgeous inside lane, throws that low backhand break to Charlotte corner, and that's another goal for the Pride. They're up 6-5. And that's only our second goal in about 9 minutes of play, Rochelle.
Yeah, definitely seen some movement from Pride down there. They're definitely moving with momentum right now, so we'll see what New York can sneak in the last 3 minutes of this quarter. We haven't seen any scores from them yet, but confidence is definitely not shaken. They just got to get back to the fundamentals and just keep pushing forward, and definitely nowhere out of this game by any stretch.
Pride enjoying a 3-0 run. That was their second break, puts them up 1 point. Gridlock looking to right the ship. They've got certainly the offensive talent to do it. There are a number of Worlds players littered through the Gridlock roster. High-level players as well for Exist and for Bent. Kelly Highland even enjoyed some time succeeding at the international level for Ireland. Got to imagine that, though this is not the circumstance that they want, they'll certainly be able to continue putting this game back together. Douglas looks deep immediately. And Beezus not able to reel that one in. But Pride are trapped at their own front end zone. We'll see if Gridlock can clamp down here.
Yeah, it's interesting, as we were just talking about it at the end of the first, that we noted that New York needed to do very little to change their offense, but yet here we are having them needing to do quite a fair amount.
Mm-hmm. Beezus takes over. Got some conversation at the middle of the field, though. As we wait to see what the call on the field is.
Had lots of assistance from our two observers today. They're both Indy Ultimate players, so good to see them out here supporting the PUL and watching as Gridlock brings it in for a score.
Yeah, that's Tulsa Douglas over to Jenny DeJesus. Jenny DeJesus on this point really put on a footwork clinic. We saw it defensively as she stopped several upline cuts in a row. There, as Douglas secures the disc, DeJesus shakes free of her defender, sends the defender upfield, comes back down herself for an easy goal. Gridlock put it back together. We're tied at 6s with about 2 minutes left in this first half. We knew it was coming. They were going to put it back together.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll see if they can maybe try and generate a block here in this last point to kind of go into half with 1 up, but we'll see what they can do.
Jenny DeJesus wanted to let us know that Kelly Highland is her most underrated player in the Mid-Atlantic region. If you don't know number 8, that is Kelly Highland, a.k.a. Beezus. We've shouted her out a bunch, but I'll get in trouble if I don't take the time to tell you more about her. Gridlock stopped their own pull from sailing back any further. Penny Wu marches to pick the disc up, and Pride look to attack. Already, Mallory Griffith streaks deep, and there's no one there to stop her. But the disc drops too low, falls at her feet. Griffith, big integrity play, says that's on me, and Gridlock will take over at the front of the end zone. I like that move when players are willing to say, hey, you know what? That throw was there. I could have attacked a little bit better. That's a big integrity move. It's easy to, as a receiver, to say, hey, that was thrower error. It's nice to see them take ownership sometimes.
Right. I think that's a good part of the game, and I think is really helpful as a newer player and a learning player is to recognize that it's not always a thrower or not always a receiver error. I think that there's different errors on both sides, and being able to learn that and recognize that, I think, is helpful in the integrity part of the game.
100%. Nola Kimmeyer drops. Pride takes back over. We see Corinne Pruitt with the disc. That swing attempt stifled, puts it deep and high to Sammy Wong, but number 47, Cheryl Xiao, is there to break that up. And the Gridlock march it forward, looking once again at that upwind break attempt. 30 seconds remaining in this half. We'll see if the Gridlock are able to maintain possession and find their way to the end zone, or if the Pride will be able to get a quick turn and perhaps a look themselves. Doesn't like the upfield look. Swings around. All the way over to number 10, Trisha Smith. Upfield to Nola Kimmeyer. Time has expired, so Gridlock just need to maintain possession on their way to the end zone. Big swing. Sails past the bidding. Gridlock player turnover. That should be the end of the half, and it is. We are tied at 6s. New York Gridlock, Columbus Pride here in Indianapolis at Westfield High School. What'd you see in that first half, Rochelle?
So first half, definitely a pivot of, I would say, of power, as you could call it. I think Gridlock really came out really strong in the first quarter, and Pride kind of stepped up their game a bit in the second quarter. Definitely got quite a few breaks to kind of put them up in the momentum a little bit. So we'll kind of see how that evens out the rest of the game and in the order in which it evens out to see who will end up coming out on top.
Absolutely. Gridlock, in the beginning of this second quarter, found themselves really shaken by some of the new defensive looks offered by the Pride, perhaps even just surprised by the intensity Columbus came out with. I think that it shook them as Pride hit that 3-0 run until Gridlock were able to stop the bleeding and get a goal of themselves. However, remember, Gridlock finished that first quarter up 2, so dropping 3 in a row meant they were only down 1. That's why we find ourselves tied now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what conversations happen during halftime to see what is changing, what is not changing, or if we're moving forward with the same consistency as before.
And remember, if you're looking for consistency and you're looking for partnership, look no further than the Parker Mortgage Team. That rate you found on the internet is no better than a dead disc, and it's really only part of your mortgage equation. You need a go-to mortgage advisor to walk you through the process and paint the whole picture. Check out the Parker Mortgage Team in downtown Noblesville. We are basically your Vincent Van Gogh too.
Additionally, you can check out a new yoga experience practice with Zen Lab. Want to start or deepen your yoga practice but not ready to plunge into a physical yoga studio? Zen Lab was created with 4 things in mind: online access, affordability, flexibility, and community. Your teacher, Kristen, strives for you to feel safe and free of judgment in your yoga practice. Beginners are welcome. Go to www.zenlabindy.com to learn more.
The Indianapolis Red and the Columbus Pride would like you to know that they denounced the anti-trans bill passed by the Indiana State Legislature. On May 24th, an effort will take place to reconsider the House Bill 1041. We stand in solidarity with trans athletes of all ages. Indy Red and Columbus Pride monetarily support organizations that help the LGBTQIA+ community in Indianapolis. For each game, players from the Indy Red and Columbus Pride have individually decided to opt in to donate that game's salary towards Indianapolis LGBTQIA+ organizations, including Trinity Haven, Gender Nexus, GEKCO, and Indiana Youth Group. Please visit indyred.org/mission to learn more or to make a donation to one of those organizations yourself.
Also want to take time to thank some of our other partners today. We have the Girl Scouts of America, specifically the organization located in central Indiana. Also the ACLU of Indiana. Of course, the Premier Ultimate League, Universe Point Productions, who's done a great job today, and the Indiana Ultimate Foundation.
Well, for Rochelle Frasch, I'm Charlie Lowe. Thank you for joining us for the first half of your Premier Ultimate League action between Columbus Pride and New York Gridlock. We'll be back shortly. welcome back. Premier Ultimate League action and excitement going on this Saturday afternoon at Westfield High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. For Rochelle Frash, I'm Charlie Lowe. As we get back to a closely contested game between the New York Gridlock and the Columbus Pride, tied up at 6s. After a first half that showed conditions take effect, that showed defenses stifle, and that showed that nothing holds like clean offense. We are excited for a strong second half here. Rochelle, what are you looking forward to seeing here?
I'd really love to see a Gridlock break. I think that they are definitely capable of it, and I think that would be a huge momentum shift for them. So I'm hoping to see that, personally.
I think that I have to agree with you here. I like games where defense succeeds. I don't necessarily agree with the best defense, or the best offense is a great defense. I just think that seeing defenses succeed speaks to the D-line player in me. And we've seen a lot of strong defensive play so far. Perhaps more, though, we've seen offenses just make execution errors. A lot of these turnovers we've had so far, very unforced, either wind playing in effect or just not properly calibrated throws from these offenses. We'll see if they can clean those up and force defenses to really generate these turns themselves.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to see some different players kind of make some plays and have some standouts this game. I think every team has their top people that are oftentimes very common playmakers and stat leaders. So it's just cool to have the opportunity for other people to kind of watch the game as it plays out and go out onto the field and see where they can make their individual impact and kind of make a name for themselves as well.
As always, productions here for the Indy Red and are brought to you by Somerset Paving in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Somerset Paving is Detroit's expert in asphalt and concrete paving. Somerset Paving, take the right way to quality.
We also have Materials Data Management, local sponsor here in Indianapolis. They are deploying the best engineering materials information management solutions. You can check them out on LinkedIn for current job openings, and their website, materialsdatamanagement.com, for a list of their further services, which include software, data importers, exporters, and consulting.
We want to thank VC Ultimate for the uniforms that our teams are wearing today. Based in Montreal, Canada, VC is the place to go. Adriana will personally make sure that your team is the best dressed when you step onto the field. I want to thank Discraft for partnering with the PUL and providing the discs that our players are playing with today. Discraft, the unofficial sponsor of all things Ultimate, and Layout for providing gloves that some of our players are wearing today.
Yeah, it's cool to see the VC Ultimate player sponsorship jerseys kind of start making an appearance. I hear they've appeared in people's mailboxes, as it's a great program to raise money for the PUL and give the opportunity for the fans to have a unique jersey that necessarily the players don't even get unless they decide to sponsor themselves or have a family member sponsor themselves. I personally have not yet received my player sponsorship jersey in the mail, but one of our friends here, Gabe, said his was delivered this morning after he was already at the game. So I'm sure he's excited to get that when he gets home.
Wonder if he ran home to pick that jersey up ahead of this second slew of games for the day. Other sponsors we have on hand, Everyone's Joy Photography. They are the photographer for the UIndy sports teams and for Indy Red. It doesn't matter if you need sports or fashion, we got you covered at any event. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at everyone'sjoyphotography.com. That player sponsorship program truly is something special. The PUL is tremendously crowd-funded and often even participant-funded, as a lot of these players buy each other's jerseys, buy their own. That is the sheer dedication and willpower that it takes to get this league off the ground. Talk to your local PUL team, local meaning anything from 10 minutes down the road from you, or if it's within a state and that's the one that's closest, figure out how you can get involved. Contact that team. A lot of them are findable on Twitter, on Instagram. They have link trees. They have websites. See if you can become a volunteer. We need people to run discs. We need people to observe games. We need people to help out keeping players healthy on the sidelines. It takes a village to raise an ultimate league, as they say, Rochelle.
Yes, absolutely. as the league expands, Charlie, do you got any early picks for a next city that might have a PUL team rise out of it?
With the amount of talent, especially in the teams for the Indy Red and for the Columbus Pride, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Michigan team emerge. Perhaps they could partner with the Detroit Mechanics and start to find some on-field success. Other places that would not surprise me, I think Boston, rife with strong teams from the women's division in club. That feels like a good hotbed for me, and would certainly be interesting to see them pull some of the talent that we're watching on the Pride right now. That we're watching on the Gridlock right now.
Yeah, I think you think about some of the big powerhouse dominant teams in the women's matching division in club for USA Ultimate, and just kind of see where the people are and where it may come from. There's not too many teams out of the central part of the United States, so curious to see if a team arises out of there and see where people ebb and flow as the league expands.
You'd have to think that any of those teams with strong women's club teams or strong mixed presences have to be candidates, as we see Penny Wu launch the poll, opening our second half. Sails deep into the Gridlock end zone. Tulsa Douglas gets it about 5 yards outside the end zone, and with an opening fake, we are on our way. Low throw. Saved by J.T. Barrett. Back to Tulsa Douglas. Does not like that swing pass down to number 4, Stassi Tongerlini, but gives it to her after she can get Sutherland to bite off. Jenny DeJesus demanding the disc. Not going to get it, though. Closely guarded by number 20, Charlotte. I've heard Kerner and corner. Going to keep going with corner until I get yelled at. Huge layout from the Columbus Pride. Forces that D. That's what we were talking about. Defenses generating turns on their own instead of waiting for offenses to mess up. That's going to be a key for either of these teams to succeed. And Sutherland, one throw, one score. The Pride are back on top. That's a downwind break. They're up 7-6.
Exciting conversion from the Pride there. You always got to love a good layout block that turns into a quick and easy score.
So, I mean, simple as we said, defenses that can force turnovers, force blocks on their own, are going to win the game every time over a defense that waits for the offense to turn it over.
Most definitely, and we're definitely seeing a little bit of that emerging from the Columbus Pride here. We'll see how New York takes that and see if we can see a little bit of that from them as well.
Not the start that the New York Gridlock wanted for this half, but they're going to receive the disc going downwind. Have to assume that they're going to say, fine, we're going to shake that one off. We're going to punch in this easy hold and then set up our defense, get that upwind break back, and regain control of this game.
Yeah, we have lots of fans down here from Columbus specifically, so that's definitely helping with their momentum shift here. Just getting the fans involved and excited about the game and what's going on. There's always a different energy level at a game when you are able to have fans in attendance, specifically for your team, but in general, just for the general atmosphere of the day and the game.
Disc rolls, but it had rolled out of bounds, so Tulsa Douglas is going to take it from the upside line, close to the school there. High release straight to Bezos. Up to Jenny DeJesus, back to Tulsa Douglas in the middle of the field. No dumps behind her. Jenny offering a swing option. Tulsa Douglas took a lot of time to evaluate the option she wanted most. That low throw, though, there's going to be some conversation. They're going to leave it on the ground, and the Pride are going to take back over. Domenica Sutherland standing over the disc. Marked by Tulsa Douglas. Shoots upfield. Through contact, number 76, Sophia Vaccaro saves possession, gives it back to Sutherland. Pride are right back at where they started. Shoots deep upfield. Milo Eater reading it for the Pride, not able to get up high enough to secure the disc. A tremendous effort from them, but there is a turnover and the Gridlock take back over. Douglas trying to calm nerves on the field for the Gridlock as she goes to pick the disc up. I love that middle of the stack undercut right there, Rochelle. That's gorgeous. Easy yards. Takes them right from her defender.
Yeah, they've been pretty consistent with that look, at least on the initial get-go. A little bit too deep on this one.
Not able to complete that downwind. As these throws are being downwind, something you have to remember is that if you don't give it enough zip, if you don't give it enough air underneath it, the downwind is going to push that disc into the ground. Some of those throws that you may be used to sailing are going to get smashed straight down, and you're going to lose a lot of the yards you're wanting. Douglas has a streaking to Jesus, takes the time to give that high release, and she pulls it in. We're tied back at 7s. Tulsa Douglas to Jenny de Jesus.
Yeah, that's one of those throws where she had the open space on it, just needed to take her time and watch it come into her hands. It's good patience in that and not to get frazzled when there is defense remotely close to you, but she had the space and she came down with it.
And that's back-to-back goals on the Douglas to de Jesus connection. They've been all over the score sheet today. That is de Jesus' 3rd goal in a row, 4th overall. That's Douglas's. And that is Douglas's 3rd assist. And a 3rd assist in 4 points as well.
Much needed score from Gridlock there. We'll see what they can do with this next point.
Something else we want to talk about today is that some of these teams, the Red, the Gridlock, the Pride, are maybe missing players this weekend as there's college regionals going on. I know that Riley Dixon for the Columbus Pride, a notable downfield threat, not present for the Pride today. Very likely a couple players missing for the Gridlock as well as the Metro East competes. That disc is caught out of bounds. Gridlock will take back over on that far sideline. Anyone you want to shout out at college regionals, Rochelle?
College regionals, let's see. Well, my alumni from Ohio University, their men's team qualified for regionals after a bit of a slump they've been in, but it's exciting to see them kind of light that fire and just get back into the game. My alumni team, the Stacked Cats out of OU, had their first nationals run in the fall.
JT Barrett reels in the massive huck for the Gridlock. They secure the upwind break and go up 8-7 on the Columbus Pride. What an absolute dime piece of a throw from the New York Gridlock.
She felt it. She knew we were talking about Ohio.
Barrett reads that the whole way. She is one of the most prolific deep threats to have come out of Ohio State Fever and Columbus Cocktails. Gridlock absolutely enjoying her presence on the team this year.
Most definitely. That was definitely a good needed point for them. Sometimes it's, you think about, I'm so used to her playing for so many different teams. It's like, which team's scoring here? I can't tell.
Taking some time to continue shouting out our teams, I'd like to mention the Indiana University Hoosier Mamas and the Purdue University Undue Perversity as they look to make names for themselves in the Great Lakes region, as well as mention Purdue Express, the women's ultimate team featuring earlier mentioned Riley Dixon from the Columbus Pride, looking to perhaps take their first bid to nationals.
That'd be exciting. Yeah, it's crazy that the way that the schedule fell this year, that teams are competing in the fall and then again in the spring. I'm curious as to what type of impact that's going to have on a college programming and whatnot and how it goes. And the pandemic has definitely been glaring for a lot of teams and shifted numbers, and teams have folded or arisen from just the pandemic and what has happened. So fun that we get to see college nationals twice this year.
Absolutely. Remembering that the pandemic put a big pause on a lot of the Frisbee that we get to enjoy today, including a year off for the Premier Ultimate League. But we are glad to be back, glad to be practicing public health and safety protocols. And we're going to watch the Gridlock take over after a turn from the Pride on that far sideline. Big around fake, does not take that shot. I'd like to take a moment to correct myself earlier. I have been told, courtesy of our live stream chat, that it is Charlotte Kerner for sure. I will be referring to her as such. Thank you very much, diligent YouTube patrons. Swing over to Amy Jo in the middle of the field. Big swing, but turfed. Number 47, Cheryl Seow, not able to get there in time. Wu picks up the disc. marshals the offense, gets it up to Jessica Larson, number 24, in the middle of the field. Champ Pruitt, not finding an option that she likes right now. Puts a lot of edge on that around flick to a bidding number 22, Mary Turner, secures that disc. Wu's footwork showing out, but the swing is made over to Tico Lim instead. And Larson not able to set up in time to throw that swing to Wu, who drops back into the handler space. Instead, we take the look back to Mary Turner. A lot of pressure in the handler space from these Gridlock defenders. They're really challenging those swings every single time. Sammy Wong gets looked off. Wu's getting bumping shoulders in, and looks like we may get some conversation over there.
Gridlock defense really working hard here. They definitely been pushing Pride's offensive line back farther and farther. Definitely swinging those discs.
Remember that Ultimate Frisbee in the Premier Ultimate League is self-officiated. These players are making these calls themselves. That means that not only do they need to focus on remembering the offensive and defensive sets they've been taught and that they're practicing, but they need to know the rule book inside and out. Observers are there to make active calls. Things like inbounds, out of bounds, as we get a drop from the Gridlock player. But the observers are mostly there to weigh in on calls that the players make among themselves during gameplay. Larson picks up, stifled by the mark. Disc is moved upfield to Sammy Wong, continues to Champ Pruitt. Has a receiver deep in Mallory Griffith that does not take advantage of that opportunity, instead swings back to Penelope Wu. Inside to a wide open Jessica Larson. Does not take the four-side throw. A little bit of patience. She finds Sammy Wong for the goal.
Lots of patience on that point. It was a bit of a long one, lots of turns, but Pride is able to bring that one in for a score.
A hold they sorely needed. That ties us back up at 8 with 4 minutes and 47 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
Definitely got to even back and forth here.
So tied up at 8 here. We've seen a lot of high-pressure defense in this second half. Teams realizing that they're going to need to create those opportunities for breaks on their own or earn the disc back, knowing that the other teams are not often going to just give it to them. We've seen the defensive intensity ramp up as the teams try to take charge of those turnovers themselves instead of waiting for the gifts to fall into their laps.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a bit more of a physical game here in the third quarter. Lots of more riskier blocks, I guess you could say, or attempts at blocks, kind of reading that disc and making a bit riskier plays, knowing that we need to generate blocks for their team and get those breaks.
Disc is swung to Tulsa Douglas, and she'll get the offense set up. Swings over to Kelly Highland. Finds JT Barrett in the middle of the field. Back to Tulsa Douglas. Big backhand fake. Tries to shift the mark. Kara Seaver, huge bid, something she is known for, but not able to secure that disc. Chases the streaking defender downfield, who's exasperated the disc did not go up. Jenny DeJesus sets up on her mark. And that's number 16, Riley Kusnicki. Gonna have a conversation after the potential turnover.
Maybe a timeout? Question mark?
And it looks like Columbus got a timeout off. They're going to take that timeout in the middle of the field. Going to take some time during this timeout once again to talk about disc diversity. Disc diversity, the brainchild and passion project of Shani Crawford. They are putting on the Continent Tour. Several stops across the United States and ultimate hotbeds to promote Black Ultimate. That's Black players. That's Black joy. That's Black competition. That's Black excellence. These players come from all across the country to challenge each other and themselves in showcase games. Places like Houston this evening, to Washington, D.C., to Raleigh. It is one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life, Rochelle. I got to commentate the March 26th stop, made my commentating debut, and I don't think I've ever been a part of something in Frisbee that brought me quite as much happiness as that did. It's truly one of the best things that our sport has to offer, and if you have the opportunity, and if you're at the games or watching the games today, pull your extra monitor up, get your phone out, get your iPad out, and pull up the Disc Diversity stream this evening at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, and give your time, your love, your attention to the Continent Tour stop in Houston, featuring big-name Twitter presences like Alex Davis and big-time players like Shani Crawford and Brianna Craig, who could not be here with the Gridlock today as she is in Houston playing on the Continent Tour.
Where are other cities you think they're hitting next?
They've got Denver coming up middle of May. They've got Raleigh middle of June, and beyond that, only Shani knows, and she'll tell us when she feels she's built enough surprise and tension up.
The mastermind up there.
She's a wily one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Takes people like that to come up with these great opportunities and great things for the sport. So very appreciative for people like her and what she's doing to build our community and strengthen our community.
Absolutely. We, in fact, did get a timeout call from Columbus, as we can see that they have swapped in for an offensive line. Jessica Larson opened the point with the disc. We're seeing some conversation on the field between Tulsa Douglas and Penny Wu. And that is Sammy Wong with the disc in the middle of the field.
Quite a bit of conversation going on down there as well.
As we restart play, Jessica Larson takes a huge step, drops back for the disc, secures the grab. High release, and the two Pride players both go for the disc. Someone down. Rachel Mast walks over to check on her teammate. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The mind call is one of the most important things that Frisbee could borrow from volleyball. Sammy Wong walks off the field. Her teammate Domenica Sutherland checking on her. Love to see that support from your teammates and from your sideline. Champ Pruitt walks over to pick the disc up, and we're going to restart play. The observer says play on. Wu continuing to look to attack the downfield space. Finds Mast. DeJesus challenges the throw, not able to get there. Douglas close on the mark. Penny Wu looks for the hammer fake and just drops it straight on the floor. Douglas picks it up. Wu makes the ground back up immediately. Falls. And the Gridlocks secure the goal. And kind of a wacky end to that point. And they go up 9-8.
Sometimes nothing more unfortunate than a little bit of a bobble when the disc kind of just has a mind of its own sometimes. It's one of those uncontrollables that is just got to accept as a part of the sport.
Sometimes you slip and fall, and that's everything. Your footwork can be great, but if your footing is not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was just talking. I was sitting in the stands watching the Red Pride game earlier, and we were talking about offensive and defensive positioning with someone who is very unfamiliar to Ultimate. She's been around the block and seen a lot of Ultimate, but kind of explaining that to her and how sometimes the disc just kind of just fumbles out in your hands, and that's just a part of handling the disc.
For those of you unaware of the term positioning, that means that is where the offensive players and defensive players are setting themselves up physically as they look to make cuts or guard cuts downfield. Positioning can often be the difference between making a play or having a play made on you. It's a very easy way to overcome differences in speed and a really easy way to make sure that you come down with a 50-50 ball. As we saw there, Penny Wu lost the disc as it sailed a little bit further over her head than she was ready for, allowing the Gridlock player to come down with it. Disc is fielded by the Pride, Jessica Larson. Down to Risu Umeno.
Nice vertical grab there.
And we see the Gridlock set up into their zone. Running a variant on a 3-3-1. They've got 2 in the cup, 1 person off, taking away any potential poppers into the cup as the disc is advanced to Penny Wu. Running 3 people in a wall. And Gridlock get the D there. Maybe a little bit of contact, but it's called clean. And that's number 7, Luisa Neves, who picks up. Gets upfield to Emily Barrett. Has a receiver deep, but does not take that look. Choosing instead to advance the disc upfield. It's number 12, Amy Jo. Swings back around to Emily Barrett. Abby Chang has her cut stifled. Deep throw. Gridlock player not able to get there fast enough. Disc hits the ground. Sutherland picks up and will start with a new Pride possession.
Yeah, and we did have a Gridlock player working that deep space pretty well here in the last point. Couldn't quite see it out of the camera angle, but she was definitely open and that opportunity was there. Just the under was a bit of a smarter throw in that case.
That was number 6, Renata Pepe, working that deep space as we see Penelope Wu not able to secure the disc. Something worth talking about here is that this is Pride's second game today. Those legs are probably starting to feel a little bit tired. These players are conditioned at the highest level, but it can be certainly a grind to play back-to-back games as Pepe pulls the goal in off the quick dish from her teammate, and the Gridlock go up to, for the second time today, 10-8. And that was number 7, Luisa Neves, with the assist.
So putting Pride in a little bit of a decisive position here. They've been playing good defense, and so we just need to get secure hold and get another break, and they can get back on top. But Gridlock's definitely ramping up their game.
That's our 5th break on the day, 3rd overall for the Gridlock to go up 2 points. And they'll look to keep that break train rolling as they stare down an upwind D point.
Yeah, a bit of a frustrating last couple points for Pride, but they're still in it and still got some energy down there, so we'll see if they can push their legs for about another 15 minutes, give or take, per se.
Remember, heavy playoff implications in this game for the Gridlock. They need to right their ship, go from being 0-1 to 1-1, and perhaps even 2-1 as they look to face the Red later today. They're going to need to put as many wins up in their column as they can, staring down a formidable DC Shadow and formidable Raleigh Radiance as well. PUL goes up, crosses midfield, settles a little bit of a roll back, and Pride will take up just inside their own side of the field. Sutherland streaking up line. Disc is swung down instead to Brittany Kaplan. Oh, my apologies to Natalie Barnhart. 30 seconds left. Kerner with the disc. Gets it back up to Sutherland, her Parcha teammate. Player falls. Quick stoppage here. Time continues, though. So, time stoppages. Important to remember our rules for those. In the first 3 quarters of the game, stoppages only occur for between points and timeout calls. In our fourth quarter, stoppages extend to play stoppages, to timeouts, and to between points. Time has expired. Number 23, Kiara Crook, secured the disc on the sideline there, gets it back to Sutherland. Pride really need to play a clean possession the rest of the way. If they do, they may get the opportunity to score and go into the next quarter down 1. But if they don't, the disc will be turned and we'll start the fourth quarter. As we see right there, that is the end of the quarter. Play will stop, and we'll start the fourth quarter here in a couple minutes with the Gridlock up 2.
Unfortunate ending to that point for Pride.
So the more I think about it, Rochelle, I'm curious as to what you feel about the possession rules for the end of the first 3 quarters. I think it has to be frustrating for the players on the Gridlock to have come away with the full catch block at the end of that point and not have a look at the end zone, something that they'd be accustomed to having in the club series and college series.
Right. It's interesting thinking about that because the alternative in that case would be Gridlock plays through the duration of a possession there, and then Pride ultimately gets a turn or they get a turn, or the point could potentially keep going for a very long time. And so it's hard to plan a game, I guess you could say, in a timed format with those variabilities. I mean, I've played in points that have gone some 20 minutes, not saying that would be the case. So it's interesting to have that possession rule for 3 quarters and then to have the buzzer beater, and why not consider just having all of the points be a buzzer beater. I mean, it's at some point a team is an advantage or disadvantage, but usually probably evens out either way. But it's tough to work for a defensive block and then not be able to do anything with it.
100%. I do, however, very much enjoy the buzzer beater opportunity present at the end of the fourth quarter. Ultimate, I think, is something that fully benefits from the presence of buzzer beaters. Everyone wants that opportunity for glory. Notably, last year, Pride suffered perhaps the most heartbreaking loss we've seen in the PUL, a buzzer beater by the Milwaukee Monarchs secured by Austin Prucha to win them championship weekend. Maybe today the Pride can generate some of that magic for their own as we look at the fourth quarter. The Pride are only down 2. Certainly a place where they can make up some game. I do believe they are going to receive, so we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting, someone who's out there on the stream or Twitterverse, to look into some type of statistical injury report of buzzer beater versus clean possessions. I think you think of the AUDL at the end of each quarter when it turns into a big old hospital pass. How many times out of 10 is there a result of an injury or a score, or what happens there? I mean, it's called a hospital pass for a reason. So curious as to how that would have an impact on the PUL gameplay if that suddenly became the for all 4 quarter rule. But I kind of like the different in the fourth quarter. It's interesting concept.
So as we approach our fourth quarter, statistical leaders that we have so far through this game. For the Pride, of course, we do have Penny Wu making her presence felt on the assist and goal side of the game. And for the Gridlock, heavy presence of Tulsa Douglas today, dishing out 4 assists so far, and Jenny DeJesus racking up 3 goals. They'll look to continue their high level of production into this fourth quarter, and the other teams will look to slow those leaders down. Pride doing a much different job spreading the goal scoring very evenly among the rest of the team. Penny leading purely in that assist mark.
Pride looking to get a hold here to keep it 9-10 and move into a potential break opportunity on the following point after that.
Gridlock taking some time to size up the Pride defensive line. The Pride will be moving from right to left across the screen as the pull goes up from the Gridlock. A lot of these mid-height pulls. That one settles comfortably into the back third of the Pride side of the field, and they will take over. Jessica Larson looking to spread that Gridlock cup out. Moves her mark comfortably. They're going to want to avoid getting down in that trap side, Rochelle, you have to think. Oh, but the turn, it does not matter.
Just one of those bobbles.
The players are thinking about this wind, and they're thinking about those zones. The Gridlock are starting to have efficacy in their zone purely by just throwing it on the field. I can't even describe what I just saw. What a sky from Champ Pruitt. Sails through the crowd to pull that down.
Yeah, that's one of those other instances where you don't necessarily know who's around you going for the disc in that regard, but she definitely came up on it. And
we're going to see that sky one more time. Champ Pruitt soars through the middle of the crowd, rips it down. We do then have an immediate turnover. The Gridlock set up in an end zone and going to look to increase their lead. A much shorter way to go as they stare at an upwind break.
Beautiful around.
Yeah, Amy Zhou with that throw. Abby Chang reels that in, but ruled not in the end zone, that is. Breaks over to her teammate. That's number 5, Emma Frankel. That's the upwind break. Gridlock are up 3 and not looking back.
Yeah, so we're seeing here of the pattern. Pride kind of did away and did a good job in the third quarter of maintaining, getting those defensive breaks, but New York kind of starting to seem like they're running away with it a little bit in the fourth. So
certainly in the first game today, we saw swings happen, though it only happened one time. The Indy Red were up 2 on the Columbus Pride. The Pride then took control of that game, swung it back in their favor, and went up and on to win by 3. We've seen 2 such swings so far, currently in favor of the Gridlock as they are up 3 right now on the Columbus Pride. We'll see if the Pride are able to respond. They'll need an easy offensive hold, perhaps a little bit of luck, but some strong defensive presence to get a couple breaks back and tie this game. I think they can do it. They've shown themselves resilient today already. They've played some close games this season. They've learned a lot from those experiences. I'm not ready to count them out, Rochelle.
yeah, specifically, they've been able to generate those blocks and convert on breaks. So I'm definitely confident in their abilities to be able to continue that. Will just be a time is of the essence, per se.
Pulls up from the Gridlock. Pride will take over just inside of midfield. Jessica Larson immediately looking to move the defense. Finds Tico Lim streaking up line. Penny Wu gets loose of her defender, number 11, Nola Kim Mayer, as we said, taking that Penelope Wu matchup. Swung easily over to Champ Pruitt on that high side, staying far away from that bottom trap sideline now. Mallory Griffith shakes free. Jessica Larson takes her time, reads that one down and easy into her hands. Back up to Penelope Wu. Deep shot goes up, straight into the hands of the Gridlock defender, who gives it right back. Pride are attacking. They're going to set up an easy end zone set and walk this in, you have to imagine.
That's what I'd like to see.
Easy throws and easy catches.
That's
boring
the name
frisbee.
of the game. Boring frisbee.
And we're not going to get it ripped down by the Gridlock, who will take back over at the front of their end zone.
Bit of a jinx there on our behalf.
Commentator's curse is real. Far swing over to number 11, Nola Kim Mayer. Moves it up to Stasi Tongerlini. Rips downfield. Receiver in the area, but Penelope Wu hunting in the deep space. Number 13, Mo Doherty reads it out. Crossfield, but it's going to come backwards. Back to her own teammate. And they're right back in their end zone set. A little bit wonky stuff there, Rochelle.
Yeah, that was a weird throw. It's looking more like a boomerang than a frisbee.
And what a monstrous step around break from the Gridlock to put that assist in. Goodness gracious, her mark is still wondering where the disc went.
This is where you start to see a little bit of the fatigue from Columbus Pride after that point right there. Lots of exasperated stops to play. It's playing 2 games in a row is definitely, especially at this level, a bit of an exhaustion point. So it'll be interesting to see how Gridlock does in our 3rd game of the day with Indy Red coming off of their bye. It's always a hot topic of conversation of where you want your bye to be at a tournament, and I feel like everyone has kind of their different opinions of staying warm, staying loose, as opposed to getting that break of to relax and rehydrate and eat. So really, it's anyone's game.
Talent really starting to coalesce too for the New York Gridlock. Remember, that 20-9 loss to the DC Shadow was their first time playing in competition as a team outside of the practice realm. So today, perhaps much better conditions despite the travel. They're really starting to click as we see them go on this 4-point run, including 3 breaks on their way there. Up 12-8 with 8 minutes, 30 seconds left. See if the Gridlock can continue their run or if the Pride are going to be able to stop the bleeding and get some points back on the board themselves as the pull goes up. The more I watch it, I think I really like the pulling strategy from the Gridlock. Rochelle, they're keeping it low and they're keeping it controllable. They're not trying to get that high sailing big hang time pull. Rather, they're really forcing the Pride to come to them, get set up in their offense, which gives the Gridlock a lot of chance to play their full defense.
Yeah, it's definitely a strategic pull, most definitely.
Throw sails up and over the Gridlock player. The Pride are going to take over on that far sideline. Huge bid from the Gridlock, but kept in play, then immediately dropped by the Pride. Gridlock are taking over at midfield. Number 21, Allie Milligan, handling with the disc right now for the Gridlock. Fakes, shifts the Pride player, but throws it away to the low sideline. We'll see the Pride take over. Number 9, Janine Walker, picking up the disc. Has Risu Umeno in the upline space. Does not swing around to her, instead pushes upfield to number 12, Nora Mertz. Umeno looks for the disc upline, but throw a little bit lower and farther than she was looking for. Sails out of bounds. Picked up by the Gridlock, number 2, Brittany Kaplan. Sends Umeno all the way into the end zone with a fake, but she gets a hand back on it anyway as Emmy Jo works to secure the disc. Abby Chang lets it slip right through her hands. Pride are going to be taking over, looking to play a calm, collected end zone set and put a goal in this quarter.
Yeah, I've seen lots of unfortunate bobbles in the last couple points. Can see some nerves starting to get to the teams.
Emma Frankel pads the stat sheet with a D, and then with a turnover as the Pride take back over. And we are starting to see play break down. We went from some pretty clean offense and defense to a sloppy mess very quickly. I hope that these two teams take the deep breath, get back to playing and executing at the highest level. Emma Frankel moving her mark at will as she waits for an open receiver. Finds one in Amy Jo. Shoots downfield. Run onto by Nora Kim Mayer. Skies for the disc. Goodness gracious. And then calmly waits for a dump pass to open up. Swing back to the far side. Hand blocked by Risa Umeno. She's not going down without a fight. Pride take back over.
It's funny. I was just thinking about how we hadn't had too many, if any, foot blocks, hand blocks as we go, and I didn't say it, but now we got one.
Point blocks are as difficult to come by as any other stat in Ultimate. Risu Umeno did that one with authority. Shot downfield, not completed. We're going to get one more look at it. With the fullness of her arm, she shuts that throw down.
Ultimate players are very accustomed to finding random bruises across their body from taking the full force of a disc. I've seen some pretty nasty injuries come from that thing, but definitely accustomed and used to it, that's for sure.
Throw is 2 inside of the Gridlock receiver. Run through D, easy for the Columbus Pride. They take back over. That's number 8, Lily Mendoza. Hits the inside receiver on a gorgeous inside break, but dropped by Janine Walker. Emma Frankel back with the disc on the low sideline. Amy Jo cuts so hard that she trips over herself. Rips a backhand downfield. Hopefully it stays in bounds, but it's going to get pushed out by the wind. And this point has been going for a while. I believe we started about 8 minutes and 30 seconds, and we are getting close to 5-minute point territory.
Yeah, this is one of those opportunities where you maybe or maybe not call a strategic timeout, at least in the PUL, to get some fresh legs out there.
Both teams with a timeout remaining. Would not be surprised if they took advantage of that, if only to get the players on the field some water or put out, as you said, put out some fresh legs. Risu Umeno looking to will this offense back into easy motion. Dumps the disc back, demands it right back so she can get a new look, a new stall count. Lily Mendoza secures with the right hand. Huge backhand rip, but popped up by the wind. Drops down in front of the Gridlock defender. They will take back over. And there it is.
Yeah, as we've gotten into the deeper heat of the day, the sun has definitely been out for the duration of this game. So definitely probably seeing a little bit more fatigue than expected, especially with some of the first sunshiny days here we've had in Indiana in a while. You got to get your body back used to it and get used to playing in the heat, in the sun, and different elements.
For those of you who have never played a sport on a turf field, turf can add anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees in temperature. If you're playing on a 60-degree day, be prepared to feel it 70, even 75, 80 degrees as you compete. These players are sitting very comfortably in that now. Sure, the wind is cooling them down, but the turf is burning underneath their feet.
Yeah, I think about tournaments I've played in where there's every so once in a while in the Midwest, not too often, where we have our heat advisories, and especially happens a little bit more in summer leagues and different areas where you just got to be cognizant of it. It's not worth getting that dehydration or anything else that could come from that. So definitely lots of factors to consider when you're planning a Ultimate Frisbee game or event as an organizer. Shout out to our organizers everywhere, community organizers. We need them to keep Ultimate growing and moving forward, and it's a lot of work for oftentimes little reward and recognition. So we're thankful for them and what they do for our community.
So what do you think we're going to see out of the timeout, Rochelle, as we watch the Gridlock set up their offense and in the Pride with a new D-line out there setting up their defense?
Wouldn't be surprised if we see some type of deep look. I think they're looking to utilize their skills and maybe close out this point sooner rather than later. But we'll see as they move into it.
Yeah, we immediately see Kara Sieber stretch deep, looking to attack that deep space, though it is stifled. And a huge bid attempt from Charlotte Kerner. Find her on Pittsburgh Parcha this summer. But the disc is going to go all the way back to the initial handler. That's number 4, Stasi Tangerlini. Stall called. Turnover. Pride are taking over.
Oh, that's an interesting turn of events we have there.
This point going on for 6 minutes now. The Pride D-line going to look to capitalize on that turnover. Not going to do it. JT Barrett intercepts, dumps back to Tangerlini, moves over to Kara Sieber in the middle of the field. Huge backhand rip, maybe a hand on it by the Pride defender, but Douglas streaks over, not able to make it in time as it's knocked down by the Pride. Sutherland, huge follow around to the low side to Kerner. High hand from Barrett stifles that look. Swings back to the middle. Chelsea Zhu up to Sutherland. Maybe a little bump on the way from Tangerlini, letting her know I'm still there. Secured. Stifled by Sieber.
Be interesting to see if this point lasts the rest of the quarter, or if we somehow work it in here and run another one back.
And there's the block. And a much slower moving streak downfield. Sieber, no one in the area, but not getting the look from Douglas, knows it's not coming. Takes her time. But gets the huge gainer look from her teammate, Emily Barrett. Leading pass out to number 13, Mo Doherty. Reels it in for the goal.
It was a beautiful throw to finally end that point. There's no better way to end it, though.
As we see Sieber lead Doherty out. No one in the area. Plenty of time to run onto that. That is, especially in the upwind, a much more challenging throw as Sieber and Doherty put an end to the 7-minute, 25-second point there. And that leaves Gridlock up 5, 13-8. Perhaps an insurmountable amount of time and an insurmountable deficit ahead of the Pride as they throw another O-line on.
Yeah, that point was probably a bit of a icing on the cake there for ending the Columbus Pride. I think they've had a good run today, and I think eventually the elements start to get to you, especially when you have that length of a point this late in the game. It can kind of be a little bit debilitating, but hopefully we can see them get one last offensive hold here and bring up a extra point here towards the end of the game.
I really do think that the timeout taken was key once it finally went on. both teams able to put out a fresh line. The high-level offensive talent on the Gridlock winning out over the high-pressure defense from the Pride there. Remember, Kara Sieber has been one of the most prolific offensive players in the club scene for years now, really showing out with Columbus Cocktails for the last several seasons, and winning a gold medal with the U24 team in Heidelberg, Germany. Penny Wu handles in the middle of the field. Larson back with her. Pruitt as well. Swings over to Pruitt. Immediately onset from MC Cannon. Back to Wu. Challenged by Nola Kim Mayer. Still sticking to that matchup as they told us they would, the Gridlock. Gets it up to number 22, Mary Turner. Finds Wu in a short dump pass. Saved by Rachel Mast. Kim Mayer putting that mark on. And the throw sails past the Pride. We are under 30 seconds left as the Gridlock take over. We may get to see a buzzer beater after all, if only to try to pad the stat sheet a little bit. Disc saved by Nola Kim Mayer. Upfield over. Final 10 seconds. Huge backhand rip. A lot of edge, though. It's going to land out of bounds. That is going to do it. Griffith moves it up to Wu. And that is the end of our game today. The New York Gridlock on a 5-point rip to end that game, up 13-8, and to take their first victory of the season, to send the Pride home 1-1 on the day.
Yeah, definitely a hard-fought game by both teams. I think there was lots of opportunities taken advantage of there. Just ends up coming down to it in favor of the Gridlock. It'll be interesting to see how they continue their momentum into the game against Red here tonight at 6 p.m. So definitely come back and join us. I will be here again commentating that game. We'll say farewell to Charlie and welcome back Harrison, but it's sure to be a good one, and I think we'll see some energy coming out of Indy Red as they've been kind of chilling here watching this game. So I think it'll be good.
There was a lot to learn for the Red there as they got their first looks at the New York Gridlock, and you can learn a lot from the Parker Mortgage team out of Noblesville, Indiana. That rate you found on the internet is no better than a dead disc, and it's really only part of your mortgage equation. You need a go-to mortgage advisor to walk you through the process and paint the whole picture. Check out the Parker Mortgage team in downtown Noblesville, where basically your Vincent Van go-to.
Again, we want to shout out Zen Lab. They are an online yoga studio that is trying to reduce socioeconomic and physical barriers to yoga. Your teacher, Kristen, offers a free class every month, along with membership perks, discounts, on-demand yoga classes. You can also work with Kristen one-on-one with virtual or in-person private yoga sessions. Go to www.zenlabindy.com to learn more.
Thank you so much to Somerset Paving. Somerset Paving is Detroit's expert in asphalt and concrete paving. Somerset Paving, take the right way to quality.
Thank you again to Materials Data Management. One of our local sponsors, MDMI Materials Data Management, has the experience and drive necessary to help your organization deploy the best in engineering materials information management systems. Check us out on LinkedIn for current job openings and our website, materialsdatamanagement.com, for a list of services and software. Data importers, exporters, and consulting too. MDMI is here for you.
Thank you to our ultimate specific sponsors, VC, Discraft, and Layout, for their various contributions to today's game. VC, based out of Montreal, especially for providing the uniforms for our two teams today.
And our last sponsor we have is Everyone's Joy Photography. Everyone's Joy Photography, Indy sports team photographer and Indy Red's official photography company. You'll see him out here again at our 6 p.m. game. Doesn't matter if you need sports or fashion, we have got you covered at any event. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at everyone'sjoyphotography.com.
Rochelle, it's been an absolute pleasure. We saw a phenomenal game today, especially as these two teams showcased their mental toughness in some of those longer, more grueling points. I wanted to thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you to Universal Point Productions for putting on this game and for all of our games today. And for Rochelle Frash, I'm Charlie Lowe. Tune in at 6 for our final game of the day, Indy Red versus the New York Gridlock, and tune your extra screens to Disc Diversity's Continent Tour starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much.